saint from this high point of Visigothic Hispano-Catholic culture was a promising pupil of Saint Isidore, Saint Braulio, the Bishop of Barcelona. A gifted student in the College of Seville, that is established by Isidore, the institution that is, was the first university in all of Europe. Of noble birth, Braulio grows up to be so eminent a scholar that Isidore regards him as a friend and disciple rather than as a student. In fact, Isidore even sends his own work, his own writings, to Braulio for correction and revision. After St. Braulio prepares for the priesthood and is ordained, the see of Saragossa becomes vacant at the death of his brother, Bishop John. The prelates then assemble to elect a successor and decide on St. Braulio. Now, as bishop, he labors zealously to teach and educate his people, keeping in close touch with St. Isidore. They have a massive correspondence that goes on for decades. Sadly, only a few of these letters survive today. Together, they help to restore order and regularize ecclesiastical disciplines and combat Arian heresy, which continues to flourish in Spain even after the conversion of King Recared. At the 4th, 5th, and 6th councils of Toledo, which were presided over by St. Isidore, Braulio is so dignified and convincing as he writes a series of letters to Pope Honorius I. These letters are an answer to the pontiff's accusations that the Spanish bishops have become negligent in their duties. That Pope, let me talk a little bit about the Pope Honorius I, who sits on the papal throne from 625 to 638 A.D. Well, Honorius turns his home, the Vatican, into a type of monastery, employing monks rather than secularized clergy. Honorius becomes embroiled in a theological controversy, which would rack the foundations of the Christian world. The pontiff, working with Sergius, the Patriarch of Constantinople, formulates and publishes his own viewpoint, monothelitism, which states that Christ has two natures, both human and divine, but only one will, a divine will. This viewpoint would soon be considered heretical and sparks off much debate and violence not only in Spain, but in all of Christendom. That's what these letters were about, the monothelitism and the controversy raging at the time. Now, in his declining years, St. Braulio would spend much time at his cathedral church, Our Lady of Pilar, spending many hours, days and nights in prayer, and abhorring all kinds of luxury. Basically, living a simple life, eating simple food, and wearing rough and plain clothing. Braulio was an eloquent preacher who spoke of forgiveness and toleration, and tried very hard to help the poor and misfortunate. Now, in his final months, his eyesight began to fail him, and St. Braulio could no longer read or write, which is a major hardship for a scholar. And as the end of his life drew near, Braulio spent his last day on earth reciting the Psalms. With the lives and works of St. Isidore and St. Braulio, the Visigothic Catholic kingdoms would reach their high point in artistic, theological, and educational achievement. But sadly would soon go into decline, bickering amongst themselves to the point that a rival military power, the Moors, and a rival religion, Islam, would soon invade and conquer 2/3 of the Iberian Peninsula. As a Berber general and his massive army landed on Gibraltar and quickly rout King Roderick, the Visigothic king, who was killed while trying to flee. The surviving Christian Visigothic ruling class finds refuge in the rugged north of Spain, Asturias and Galicia. In these northern mountains, the essential personality of modern Spain is formed. The people of Galicia have backbone and are of Celtic Iberian stock. They add their strength and sense of purpose to that of the Asturians and the Visigoths. Together, they live the hard life of frontiersmen. For the land in the north is almost totally devoid of fertile areas, and the steep, hazardous mountain passes make trade very, very difficult. The small Spanish Christian states have little to build on, little more than their independence of spirit and their faith in God. Asturias and Galicia soon merge into one Christian kingdom, and the people pray for divine help and guidance. When the tomb of St. James is discovered in Galicia in 840 A.D. by a monk who soon becomes a bishop, a church is built at Compostela, built for its shrine. It seems as if the prayers of the people have been answered, and St. James, Santiago, becomes the patron saint of Christian Spain, and their spiritual champion in battle. The presence of St. James, Santiago, is very real to these people. It's not just legendary, and they strongly believe that the saint is fighting alongside them, fighting with them, wielding formidable spiritual and military power, enough power to oppose and defeat the Moors. Meanwhile, in Muslim Spain, the Moors have crafted the most sophisticated civilization west of Byzantium, and despite political confusion, they enjoy great prosperity. Their unity soon collapsed.